Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me. My mother once told me no woman would ever love me like she did. I thought that was devotion, until I learned what she really meant. This is how I broke free, and finally learned what love is supposed to feel like. I grew up in a house where silence was forbidden. If the TV wasn't humming, my mother was talking. If she wasn't talking, she was singing or praying out loud, as if afraid that quiet might reveal something she didn't want to hear. My name is Adam, and my mother, Diane, was the kind of woman everyone in town called devoted. The kind that never missed a parent-teacher conference, that ironed her son's shirts even after he turned 23. People admired her. They didn't see the way she'd go pale whenever I closed my bedroom door, or how she'd say, "You don't need friends, you have me." When I was a kid, I thought it was love. Later, I realized it was ownership. Dad left when I was 8. I remember the sound of the car starting more than the slam of the door. Mom stood there at the window, arms crossed, face blank. When I asked where he went, she said, "He couldn't handle loving both of us, but I can." She turned his absence into proof of her devotion. She became both parents. At least that's what she told everyone. But what she really became was everything. She cooked, cleaned, chose my clothes, picked my hobbies. She even signed me up for piano because she liked the sound, not because I did. When other kids went on sleepovers, she said, "Why sleep somewhere else when your mother's here?" If I argued, tears came fast, and guilt was her weapon of choice. By the time I hit high school, the rules were simple. Never lie to mom. Never choose anyone over mom. And if you do, you'll lose her love. I didn't test those rules until sophomore year. Her name was Mia. Freckles, a soft laugh, the kind of girl who made small moments feel infinite. When I told Mom, she smiled, a sharp, practiced smile. "Oh honey, she's cute, but she's not like us." I didn't know what that meant until Mia stopped answering my texts. A week later, I found out Mom had shown up at her house, told her I had issues, that I was unstable like my father. Mia blocked me that night. When I confronted Mom, she cried, big, shaking sobs, and said, "I just want to protect you from heartbreak." And somehow I ended up apologizing to her. When I got into college 3 states away, she acted proud. Then a week before classes started, she called. "I found a lovely apartment 10 minutes from campus. We can both move." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She told the landlord I had asthma and needed parental supervision. When I refused, she showed up unannounced 2 days later. "Just visiting," she said, and stayed for 3 weeks. Every girl I met, she found a reason to dislike. Too loud, too quiet, too thin, too flirty. I stopped dating altogether. She texted every morning, "Good morning, my heart." And every night, "You're all I have." By 22, I felt more like her husband than her son. When I got my first real job, a small firm in Denver, I told her I wanted to move alone. She smiled, too calmly, then whispered, "You're abandoning me like he did." That word, abandon, was poison. I canceled the lease the next day, but something in me cracked. I started noticing how suffocating her love was, how every compliment was wrapped in control. You're so smart, you don't need anyone. You're too good for those people. It wasn't praise. It was isolation disguised as affection. I stayed 2 more years before finally leaving. She made sure it felt like betrayal. I met Rachel at work. Kind eyes, calm voice. The kind of person who saw people as they were, not who she wanted them to be. For the first time, I tasted normal love. We watched bad TV, made dinner, argued about nothing, laughed again 2 minutes later. I was happy and terrified because I knew Mom wouldn't allow it. The night I told her about Rachel, she went silent. Not angry, not loud, just quiet. That was worse. 3 days later, Rachel called me crying. Your mom showed up at my office. She told Rachel I had a criminal record, that I was unstable, dangerous. My coworkers found out. My boss asked if I needed time off. That night, I drove straight to Mom's house. She was on the couch, watching TV like nothing happened. You ruined my life, I said. I saved it, she replied. She would have left you. They always do. Something inside me finally broke. I packed a bag, left in silence. That night she called 37 times. Then 42 the next. The messages ranged from pleading to furious. You're killing me. She'll ruin you. Come home and we'll fix this. For months I jumped every time the phone buzzed. Rachel slept with one arm around me. Not like a lover, but like a lifeline. We moved to another city, changed numbers, and for the first time I breathed without guilt. Until the letter came. It came in an ordinary white envelope, no return address, just my name in familiar handwriting. Elegant, almost fragile. Inside was a single sheet of paper. You may think you've escaped me, Adam, but a mother's bond cannot be broken. I forgive you for what you've done. Come home before you lose everything. At the bottom she'd drawn a small heart, the same way she used to sign my birthday cards. Rachel found me staring at it for half an hour, frozen. Don't respond, she said softly. But my hands were already shaking toward my phone. I didn't call her, but I didn't tear the letter either. I put it in my desk drawer. And every night after that, I'd catch myself opening it, reading it again, trying to find the hidden message in her words. Forgive me for what? Leaving? Living? Loving someone else? 2 months passed. Then my father called, the first time in years. His voice was older, worn out, like gravel under shoes. She's not doing well, he said quietly. She stopped sleeping. She thinks you hate her. Maybe if you called. I hung up. Then I called him back 5 minutes later. Tell her I'm fine, I said. But I'm not coming back. He sighed. You sound like me 20 years ago. That sentence haunted me. The next week I got another letter. This one wasn't gentle. If you don't come home, I'll tell everyone what you did to me when you were 15. I froze. There was nothing to tell. But she knew how to weaponize words, how to twist fear into obedience. Rachel saw my face and said, "This is abuse, Adam. You need help." But part of me still couldn't believe my mother would truly try to destroy me. It was a Saturday night. We were watching an old movie when someone started pounding on the door. Sharp, desperate. I looked through the peephole. It was her. Her hair was wild, makeup smudged, eyes full of something between grief and madness. "Adam, open the door!" she screamed. Rachel grabbed my arm. "Don't," she whispered. But I did. The moment I opened it, she pushed past me, stormed into the living room, and stared at Rachel like she was an intruder in her house. "You've brainwashed him," Mom spat. "He's my son, not your project." Rachel tried to speak, but Mom raised her voice until it cracked. She started crying. The same act I'd fallen for my whole life. "You think she'll love you like I do? She won't. They never do." I took a deep breath. "Mom, you need to leave." She turned to me with a look I'll never forget. Part disbelief, part heartbreak. "You're choosing her over me?" "Yes," I said quietly. She froze and then slapped me. Hard. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Rachel gasped. I didn't move. I just whispered, "Get out." She did, but not before saying one last thing. "You'll regret this, just like your father did." The next morning my father called again. "She's been admitted to the hospital," he said. "Stress, dehydration, maybe a breakdown." I didn't go. Not that day, not the next. But at night, guilt crept in like smoke. I kept hearing her words. "You'll regret this." Rachel held me through the nightmares, but she could tell I was slipping. She said gently, "If you don't face her, you'll never really be free." So I went. The room smelled like antiseptic and old flowers. Mom lay there, pale but alert. When she saw me, she smiled faintly. "There's my boy," she whispered. I didn't speak, just sat in the chair beside her. After a minute, she said, "She's poisoning you against me." "No," I replied softly. "You're doing that yourself." Her face twitched. "I did everything for you. I gave you my life." I nodded. "And now I'm giving you yours back." She turned her head away, eyes glistening. "Don't you love me anymore?" I swallowed hard. "I do. But love isn't control, Mom. It never was." For the first time, she had no words. I left her there, the sunlight cutting through the blinds like prison bars. A week later, Rachel found my car tires slashed. Then she started receiving anonymous texts. "He'll come home soon, you'll see. You can't take a son from his mother." Police traced the number. Prepaid burner phone. That was enough. I filed for a restraining order. The hearing was brutal. She cried, screamed, begged. Told the judge I'd been manipulated. When it was over, the judge sighed and said, "Ms. Hall, you need professional help. This isn't love, it's obsession." The order passed. 500 feet, no contact. For a year. She stared at me as I walked out of the courtroom. Eyes full of betrayal, but behind it, something else. Fear. For the first time in my life, there was peace. Real peace. No late-night calls, no guilt-tripping messages, no emotional whiplash, but silence, the kind I used to fear. Some nights, I caught myself missing her voice. Not because I wanted it, but because I didn't know who I was without it. Rachel suggested therapy. It took me months to agree. But when I did, everything started to make sense. The guilt, the control, the way love had been twisted into ownership. Dr. Shaw said something I'll never forget. Your mother didn't teach you love. She taught you dependence. Now it's your job to unlearn it. It was the hardest mission of my life. Therapy felt strange at first, like I was betraying her just by talking. Dr. Shaw would ask simple questions that felt like knives. When was the first time you realized your needs didn't matter? Who taught you that love has conditions? Every answer led back to her. Every fear, every insecurity, every apology I never needed to give. I started keeping a notebook. The deprogramming book, Rachel called it. Every page had a lie I'd been taught, and the truth I was learning. Lie, you can't survive without me. Truth, I already am. Lie, love means sacrifice. Truth, love means safety. By writing those words, I was taking my life back one line at a time. 6 months passed. Then one evening I got a call from an unknown number. It was my father. He sounded lighter, almost hopeful. "She's in therapy now," he said. "Real therapy. Medication too. She asked if she could send you a letter, nothing more." I hesitated for a long time before saying, "Okay." A week later the letter came. This time the handwriting shook. "Adam, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to understand something. When your father left, I promised myself I'd never be abandoned again. I confused fear with love. I tried to make you my world because I didn't believe I was enough without you. You were never supposed to carry that weight. I'm sorry. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase the damage. But for the first time, I believed her words weren't manipulation. They were confession." Rachel read it and said quietly, "Maybe she's finally learning what love really means." A year later, Rachel and I got engaged. Small ceremony, no drama. My father attended. Mom wasn't invited, but she sent a card. Inside, "Congratulations, my son. I'm learning to love from a distance." There was a photo attached, a picture of the garden I'd helped her plant as a kid. The same garden she once tore apart during one of her breakdowns. Now it was full of roses again. That photo said more than any apology could. It was sunny, quiet, and calm. 3 things my childhood never was. Rachel looked breathtaking in her simple dress. When we exchanged vows, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Peace without fear. After the ceremony, as we were taking pictures, I saw a familiar figure standing by the trees at the edge of the venue. Mom. She wasn't dressed for the occasion. Just a plain coat and that same careful smile. She didn't come closer. She didn't interrupt. She just watched. And for the first time, her presence didn't feel like a threat. It felt like closure. I nodded slightly. She nodded back. Then she turned and walked away. 2 years later, Rachel gave birth to our son, Noah. Holding him for the first time, I cried. Not because I was scared, but because I finally understood what love should feel like. It wasn't possession. It wasn't fear. It was freedom. When Mom found out, she didn't demand to see him. Instead, she wrote another letter. "I'm working on myself. If someday you think it's safe, I'd like to meet him, but only if you decide it's right." I read that letter 3 times before answering. "We'll start slow. 1 hour. Supervised. At the park." When the day came, she showed up with trembling hands, carrying a small blue toy truck. She didn't touch Noah right away. She asked first. And when she did hold him, she cried. But quietly this time. Not the loud, dramatic sobs I grew up with. Real, fragile tears. "Thank you for letting me try again," she whispered. and for the first time I believed her. As Noah grew, I started noticing things about myself. Reflexes inherited from years of control. The urge to check his every move, to overprotect. Each time I caught it, I stopped and reminded myself, he's his own person. Rachel helped me hold that boundary, the same way she helped me hold my sanity years ago. I told Dr. Shaw once, sometimes I feel like I'm still her son and her prisoner. He smiled gently. You can be one without being the other. You already broke the chain. That's what freedom looks like. He was right. Freedom doesn't mean forgetting where you came from. It means learning not to repeat it. Mom's health declined as the years went by. The last time I saw her was in a small care home on the edge of town. She was frail, her voice softer than I remembered. But her eyes were clear. I've been proud of you, Adam, she said. Not because you stayed, because you left. She took my hand. You taught me that love can exist with distance. I never knew that before. When I left that day, I didn't cry. I didn't feel guilt, just gratitude for the peace that came too late but came nonetheless. She passed away that winter. I didn't speak at the funeral, but as I stood by her grave, I whispered, I love you, but I love myself too. Finally. Now, years later, when I tuck Noah into bed and hear him say, Good night, Dad, love you, it hits me how simple love can be when it isn't chained to fear. I sometimes think about her, the woman who loved too hard and too wrong. I don't hate her anymore. I understand her. She built her world out of pain. I built mine out of healing. And maybe that's how generational curses end. Not with revenge, not with silence, but with understanding and boundaries strong enough to hold love without breaking it. Because I finally learned, you can love someone deeply and still choose yourself.